This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon.
Yeah.
That's it. And now we're ready.
And we're live. All right. So the goofball level in the studio this morning is very, very high. In fact, it's poking holes in the ceiling right there. I can see it.
It's those energy drinks Trent gave us.
Yeah. So you missed. We should have done that as a blind thing. So Trent gave us these energy drinks, and they're not really drinks. It said ampule on it, which, I mean,
sounds legit.
If I have an ampule of something, like I'm picturing, welcome to my lab. Here's an ampule.
It's kind of like that.
Yes. And so I drank it. What are we? Are we 5 minutes at this point? Mm-hmm. Maybe 6.
You feel
somewhere
better
around there,
don't you?
I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm feeling a little higher up. I did chase it with coffee, so that was probably not its intended use.
Well,
but anyway, we'll see by the end of this show, Brian. If I'm sweating and shaking and stuff like that, then I'm gonna say 0 stars.
I want to go back to that theme music, the intro song.
Yeah,
that had some serious Home Depot vibes, like get out and get something done, kind of. Like.
Oh, play it again, Trent.
Okay, it's quite brief. This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon.
For those that get it done. So Trent made our intro, and that's lovely, Trent.
Well,
thank you.
The less is more approach.
Less is more, for sure. So anyway, this is This Week in Real Estate. It's Monday morning. It's been a heck of a Monday already. Brian, you ever have those days where you wake up and you're like, all right, I'm going to do this. This is going to be a good day. I'm going to get it done. And then, like, right out the gate, something, you're like, oh. And then something else. And you're like, okay, I'm still going to get this done. You know, that whole business there. Let's do this. And man, it's been a Monday already for me.
Well, that's a good Monday. The last few Mondays I've had where I've gotten up, I've hit the gym, and I've gone home to shower, and I'm like, man, I can bring some Christmas stuff down from the attic. You know, I can, kind of, what's going to happen. And today I'm busy. I've got like good work to do today. So
that's good.
I'm happy for that.
Yeah. It's, I actually can't relate to that because there's always something going on in my world, but I do need to actually get the Christmas decorations down. Thank you for reminding me of one more thing that I need to add to my list.
If Lacey's watching, I didn't say nothing. Just remember that on your own.
Yes. So new business idea, hot take on this one. You guys put in the comments if you want to add to this idea. Professional scapegoat. Okay. So we were talking a little bit, and what I can do is I can just shoulder the blame for whatever your, bad situations are.
Bad
like,
behavior.
Hey, look, I don't know what happened. I was hanging out with Jonathan, and I can just be your scapegoat. And I'll charge for those services, of course. And the more heinous they are, the more I'll charge. Yeah. And I get to be the judge of that. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. I mean, do you want to throw out the disclaimer to not include criminal investigations, or is that on the table?
Publicly, we're going to say no criminal stuff. Okay. Yeah. I think that's going to belong on the business card, that I would say no criminal behavior would be covered in there.
Okay.
But I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I'm joking for the most part.
Diversify those revenue streams, man.
That's it. You're supposed to have 5, right? 5 revenue streams. I don't know. I could have legs. I don't know if I'm the right person for it, but.
Well, and how many times can you get repeat clients with that service? Because eventually,
well, somebody's going to be like, listen, you need to stop hanging out with Jonathan.
Yeah.
He's obviously a terrible influence on you. And I'll be like, what?
Professional skill. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Maybe keep searching for the right idea.
Yeah, that's probably not it, huh? Anyway, so this past week in real estate, it's been pretty good for me. We got a listing closed that had been listed for quite some time. It was one of those deals where, with all the fluctuation that we've had in the market, timing becomes critical, and it's unpredictable a lot of times. So we had a listing that kind of got caught in that, where it got listed right when the market was kind of slowing down.
Yeah.
And, the activity was never really super strong on it. It should have been. It was a great deal. It was a great little townhouse in Smyrna. Probably the best deal that Smyrna's had in quite some time. Extremely well cared for, but it just kind of got caught in that weird little window when the market, everybody, those of you that are watching, we talk about this a lot, is that when rates fluctuated the course of this past year, there was a lot of pausing, right?
Right.
Didn't really tank the market. At no point did we have a situation where, the bottom fell out. But every time that they would move one way or the other, didn't really matter any, significant amount, everybody just kind of hesitated. And that's exactly when we listed this property, and we had no way of knowing that. But we finally got it closed. Everybody was happy. The guy that bought it got a great deal. My folks that sold it, they still made significant money because of when they bought the property, and everybody was happy. But that one was rough, man. I'm not used to stuff having some time on market. You know what I mean?
Well, it's definitely, we were saying it. I had somebody who was moving out of town, and they listed their house kind of in the same situation, and in one of those windows where it was just like, you can't time the market, right? We all would say that. Nobody would sit here and say, "Hey, this is
exactly when.
This is how you time the market. Let me show you how to do it." Nobody makes a living selling that strategy. But
and if they do, by the way, they're lying to you.
Yeah, don't buy their service,
right?
But yeah, it took them a while to get their house sold under contract, and then kind of like when we were like, "What's going to happen here?" Their home's going to be ready for them to buy. It's a new construction. Their rate lock's going to expire. We got all these things that we're trying to come up and like, how are we going to? What's the best way that we can position them to come out of this with the least amount of pain? And lo and behold, somebody had come to an open house 2 or 3 weeks before, and then an offer comes in out of the blue. And they, and I told the realtor that was involved in that transaction, it's good to see negotiations back in the market, because they didn't accept the initial offer, even though it had been on the market for quite a while. They went back and they countered, and then they hammered out a deal that was beneficial to everybody. All parties win. Everybody's
same scenario here.
Everybody's gonna be happy about that transaction. So, and it's just good to see that. That's the sign of a healthy market. And and I would tell you, if you're listening to this and thinking about, is now a good time to buy a house, that's exactly why it is a good time to buy a house.
Agreed.
Because you're not in a spot where you can't negotiate for anything.
100%. And that's, that's been the drum I've been beating most of the year this year, is that it's not a slowdown. It's not a crash. It's a normalization. Right. We've had a very abnormal market for the last 2 to 3 years, 3, maybe even 4 years, really, if we really start to look at that. But definitely the last 2 years, extremely abnormal. And we're going back to a scenario where you can go look at a house and maybe sleep on it overnight. Not necessarily, right? There's still some stuff that'll sell right away. But you can also talk a little bit about some closing costs. You can talk about your rate buy downs. You can talk about some of those that a seller might pick up for you. You can talk about a home warranty. Again, you can talk about, home sale contingencies. Holy cow.
Yeah.
We haven't done those in 2 years.
You know what's so funny about that to me is the irony. When the market's hot and you'll be able to sell your house really, really quickly, you can't sell it. You're not going to take a home sale contingency.
Right.
But then when the market slows down, it's like, well, they come back in vogue. And I'm like, it should be the inverse. When the market's really hot,
you should have no problem taking it.
And the house is going to sell within a few hours of hitting the MLS. Why not take a home sale contingency then? I'd be more nervous about a home sale contingency now than I would be.
That's a good point.
But that being said, if you've got a few offers to choose from, and that's what it really comes down to.
It does. It's all fear mitigation.
Yeah.
When you really think about what an offer is, it is a buyer managing the fears of the seller, right? And navigating that and getting us to a point where everybody's at least somewhat comfortable with what we're doing. And that's why in a hot market, what goes first? Price fluctuates, and price is what it is, and you've got an appraiser that has something to say about that, and all of those. But ultimately, it's about managing fears. And that's why we saw waived appraisals. That's why we saw waived home inspections, or highly
Pass
modified.
fail.
Yeah. That's why we didn't see home sale contingencies. Honestly, that's why we saw a lot of the financing options get essentially pushed out.
Yeah.
First time home buyers, RD, THDA, all of those for the last 2 years, it's been very difficult in Rutherford, Davidson, some of the bigger counties to get those done. You get a little further out, you could get some of that done, but it's fear. And it might be irrational, it might be unreasonable. A lot of fear is right. But it was still very much at play.
Well, it was fear's definitely part of it, because you could have somebody that could be comparing two offers, and one of them would be something like a FHA or maybe some down payment assistance, and then another one's conventional 20% down. And it's just like, it's not necessarily that they're afraid this one won't close, it's more the certainty that this one will.
Correct.
So and when you know that if you don't perform as on the house that you're trying to buy, that person can just void your contract and take the next one. When
there's 30
prices have gone up over the last 30 to 45 days.
They're not incentivized to stick with you.
They're not incentivized to stick with you at all. Mm-mm. So it's more about, maybe it's more about certainty than fear, but it could go both ways.
Sure. Yeah. Well, they're just opposite of the same coin. So good stuff, man. What is going on rate wise, and where are we right now? Because even in the last several weeks, there's been some fluctuation. There's been some downward movement. Where are we right now rate wise?
So the downward movement is coming from an improvement in the inflation numbers. And as that's coming along, the Federal Reserve's guidance is coming out and saying, hey, we're still going to continue to raise rates. And that's what they've told us all along. They never said that as soon as inflation starts to look a little better, we're going to ease off on the rate hikes.
Because that's not a good idea. That's how you end up with hyperinflation.
That's how they learned that from Volcker in the 80s. That was exactly what happened. The first sign that inflation was under control, they were like, okay, good, we did our job. Let's let this market get back to normal. And they ran it off too soon. Mm-hmm. So what they've said now is, hey, maybe the pace of the rate increases is going to slow a little bit. Maybe do a quarter next time instead of 3 quarters. So I would, but just on that news alone, mortgage rates improved. Mortgage rates went down just because they're not going to go up as fast.
Because something that's important for people to realize is that when the Fed talks about raising rates, it is not directly correlated to real estate, to mortgage rates.
That's right.
Correct?
That's very correct.
So what are mortgage rates based on?
So just to kind of illustrate what you just said before I answer that question, the first big rate hike that the Fed put in play this year, when they did it, mortgage rates went down.
Interesting.
And the reason was because the folks who are buying, and maybe this is a good way to answer it, but the people who are investing in mortgage-backed securities and choosing where they're going to put their money, they had some confidence there that the Federal Reserve was serious. And we didn't know at that point exactly how much inflation was going to run away. We all kind of did. We all knew, but it hadn't done it yet. And so that first time they rose rates significantly, the mortgage market was like, all right, they're going to tackle this. They mean business. They're not going to kind of just like hem and haw on what to do. They've got some intentionality with this. And that created a situation where mortgage rates actually went down a little bit because they had been rising on the fears that inflation wouldn't come under control.
It's anticipation.
Right.
Yeah.
So leading up to that meeting, mortgage rates had risen sharply before the Federal Reserve even, met and said what they were going to do. You saw rates anticipating that meeting in the comments, in the commentary, and that news is what moves markets.
So then who sets mortgage rates? And I mean, obviously there's not, because it's not set by the Federal Reserve, it is a market force, but how, I mean, where does that number come from?
So it's set by, at the end of the day, you've got investors, and investors are choosing where to park their money, and they want to, and we're looking at low risk investments. So in a low risk investment, a mortgage is going to fit in that bill, but so are things like treasury bonds, and so are things like your government bonds, and cash, alternatives, commodities could be a place where they go. So when mortgage rates are set, they're basically saying, at this point, we think that this investment will pay us out over the next 7 to 10 years, this much money. And do we think we can do better somewhere else with less risk? Or do we think that this is where we want to be? And there's also fee revenue too. Mm-hmm. So at one point this year, it was very hard to get a par rate. And a par rate is just an even rate with no discount points, with no origination fees, just a flat rate. No, and it got hard, especially with FHA and the government loans, to do that because rates had risen up so much that your investors were sitting back going, if I buy these investments and these mortgages all refinance when rates drop, there's no money in it for us. Mm-hmm. So it got to a point where there had to be points, some fee revenue on the front end to give those investors a reason to want to buy that particular investment.
So is it similar to like a stock price then, that it's just kind of who's willing to buy and we throw it out there? I mean, I guess my point in that is that when the Federal Reserve changes their rate, what that rate that they raise is how much it costs to transact money back and forth with the Federal Reserve, correct?
Yeah, it's
The federal funds rate.
It's the Fed funds rate, basically how much a bank has to pay to lend money to back and forth between
Correct
institutions.
But the mortgage rates aren't based on that.
Right.
So is there a group of people? Is there one person? Is there one organization? Who is it that says, okay, based on this? Because a lot of mortgage rates, especially, are based on confidence of investors. Well, who are those investors, and how does Primis Mortgage and all these other banks, how do they say, okay, here's where our rate's going to be?
So you've got your GSEs, your Fannie and Freddie, and it kind of, I guess, it starts there with them, because they're looking at the bundles that they're going to get, and then people are going to buy into those bundles. So it's going to start with there, and what they're going to say is, hey, we're going to give you X amount of interest points for this loan. So if we're going to pay you 5% for this mortgage, then you're going to say, okay, well, if they're going to pay us 5%, the bank's going to set their rate based on how much money they want to make on that loan.
Mm-hmm.
So if that rate goes to 6%, that the GSEs are paying, and the GSEs are anticipating, well, what can we do with it?
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of all follows the line. And at the end of the day, the people who are buying these mortgage-backed securities are hedge funds and state pension plans, and or any pension plans, those long-term kind of investment strategies.
So based on that, is it possible that different organizations, different companies will have varying rates, or is it almost more like gas prices, where right now it's just kind of understood and word travels around that it's $3 a gallon? Okay, well, we have it at $2.89. Let's raise the price to $3 a gallon. I guess I'm curious how that piece of it happens.
That's a great question, and what I've always told people is that at the end of the day, we all sell our mortgages to the same investors. So you're going to have some people who say, we want to make more spread, we want to make less spread. Some people may say, we're going to make money on volume, so we're going to have really lower rates and just try to make money by doing a whole lot of mortgages.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's all going to the same GSEs and being bundled to the same investors. So there's going to be a certain amount of what you like, kind of like gas stations. Like, you may see a BP that's charging a little bit more than another gas station.
Or the one on this side of town a little bit more than this one, and the one by the interstate's a little bit more than both of them.
And it can play into like what kind of experience you're going to get. Like this gas station's easy to get in and out of. So they know they can probably charge 5 cents more.
And this is the only one within 5 miles.
So they're going to, so they're going to charge a little bit more, because if you want gas, you probably just want to go there instead of driving 5 miles the other direction.
If there's 5 across the street from each other, they're going to work their way down.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say that in the mortgage world, it's kind of like, well, what kind of experience are you going to get? Are you going to be working with somebody who's going to, you're going to close on time, you're going to get a great experience, get good communication, or is it going to be the kind of piecemealed approach where maybe you have like an online lender who's going to give you a cut rate, but you're never going to get the same person whenever you call to question about your mortgage. The chances of you hitting your closing date are probably very low, because you're going to have different people carrying that mortgage through the steps instead of one dedicated team.
And then ultimately, Primis looks at the landscape and says, okay, we could, let's say quote unquote rates are 5.5%, right? Okay, that's the market rate right now. Primis says we could charge 3%, but if we did that, then nobody would buy these loans that we originated.
Right.
And 95% of your mortgage loan originators out there across the country, they don't hold those mortgages.
Right.
So it makes no sense for them to do that, because they can't resell, which lets them continue to lend to other people.
Well, and you can get back into regulations after 2008 and how much they we used to call them, I guess it's a stress test. And so if you're a bank, you have to pass a stress test. And that means basically, like, if there's a run on your deposits, how long are you going to stay solvent?
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
so,
the whole FDIC thing, right?
Right. Well, that's the FDIC, but it's also not Dodd-Frank, but just coming out of the TARP money and everything. I can't think of off the top of my head what it was, what agency organization oversees it, but yeah, the institutions have to be solvent. And so if you are charging, or if you're booking loans that you have to carry, you have to have so much in deposits to be able to handle those loans.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
in case you do have to hold on to all of them,
right? And so that means basically that it's a lot more efficient for these mortgages to be moved off of the bank's books.
Mm-hmm.
But your bank lenders are going to be able to, hey man, we want to do some portfolio stuff and put some stuff on the bank's sheet. So you see a lot of niche products like a medical doctor loan or first responder loans. A lot of those kind of things would be portfolio products.
Something that they wouldn't be able to sell
right
anyway.
Right. It's not a conforming loan. It's going to just be our loan that we're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. All right. So where are rates today? Roughly? He's not allowed to say exactly because there's too many variables.
But
perfect credit score, 30-year conventional, 20% down.
So on Friday, that would have probably been about 6 and mid 6s. And we're probably still there today, but maybe a little shade higher.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. What's the refi market like? Is it non-existent at this point?
So
who's refinancing right now?
People getting divorced.
Is that about it?
Yeah. And some people would say, oh man, there's always come do a cash out refinance and take that money and pay off other high interest debt. And golly, if you talk about what these rising rates have done, the people who are carrying credit card balances are the ones really feeling the brunt of it. Or if you've got a HELOC, if you had done a HELOC and you had a fixed intro rate or a prime plus 1 and prime was 3 1/4, you had a really good rate. Well, now that prime
you're
plus
up 2.5% right now.
That prime plus 1 now is it's a lot higher. So
mine's almost 7%.
Those people carrying debt on variable rates right now are who are really feeling the brunt of this. And so they may want to do a cash out refinance, but a lot of them are probably looking at this situation, and most people would have that unsecured debt and credit cards, and they can do a HELOC or a second position home equity loan and consolidate their debt rather than touching their first mortgage. So there's a slide that it's probably going to be at our panel tomorrow that we're hosting.
Oh yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so we're having a panel tomorrow. Our CEO and National Director of Sales are coming in town. We've got some great local people who are going to sit on a panel and just answer questions about the market. I think there may be a few spots available. So
through Eventbrite,
right? Yeah. So if you're interested in coming, just shoot me. If you know me and you're watching this, get a hold of me.
And if you don't know him, you need to know him. So reach out to him anyway.
Yeah, I'm easy to find. So there's a slide in the deck that's going to go out, and it's like, mortgage loan applications are expected to drop next year, but it's all in refinance. As far as purchase applications, they're going to hold serve, stay flat, maybe go up a little bit, but which is telling to us and what we do. The core chunk of our business is purchase activity, and for you too. So purchase applications are expected to rise, but overall mortgage applications are expected to fall. Like maybe I think it said 9%.
It's all refi.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So you've got the thing tomorrow. Also on the books, it's about a month out, but January 9th, here at Cedar Glade Brews, we're having a 2022 What the Heck Happened.
Love the name of that.
Yeah, what the heck happened this past year? I actually had it named something else, but I figured I'd pull it back down to PG. But anyway, we've got Bryan is going to sit on that panel. A gentleman named Grant Hammond, Metropolitan Brokers in Nashville. If you are interested in the real estate market, you need to follow Grant. He says a lot of the same stuff that we say, that I say. He just says it a heck of a lot better than I do. He's very eloquent. He's very intelligent. But doesn't talk over people's heads. And anyway, he always has great information. So he'll be on the panel. And then we've also got Ronnie Martin is going to join us as well. So Ronnie's over at Pinnacle Financial. does a lot of commercial stuff. So it's going to be good to get that perspective. I invite you, if you have some questions that would go to that panel of experts, do send those to me. I'm going to be putting that list of questions together over the next week or 10 days. So I give it to you guys with plenty of time to prep for those questions. And that'll be a good time. So 6 o'clock on January 9th. There's also an Eventbrite for that. It is free and open to the public. And we'd love to have you come listen. If that's your thing, if you want to learn about that, it's going to be a heck of a good group to listen to. Hey, normally we have this recorded commercial for Bryan Nale to nail your mortgage. I love that, by the way. But since you're sitting here, why don't you tell us why you support Spread the Positive, and why you believe in the mission that Trent started. However, how many years ago, Trent? 11 years ago. I did not know it was that long. I thought it was like 6 or 7, but 11 years ago. Why do you support Spread the Positive?
Well, just think about what it's grown to and the support that it gives. I mean, I think that I watch your podcast, I watch other podcasts, and I'm all about local. I'm all about things here in Rutherford County, and this organization does shine a light on the positive things happening in our community. The dialogue that's happening, the conversations that are happening at the events, the conversations that are happening on these airwaves are conversations that we need to have. And it brings visibility to nonprofits that I believe in. It brings visibility to community activities that I believe in, and really just, things that are happening in our community. I think it's important to be plugged in and connected. I just got my email a few minutes ago that said I'm going to be able to return as a diplomat at the Chamber of Commerce.
Nice.
So I'm excited for another year.
Shout out to Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly Beam, and the officers who voted to allow me to come back. I appreciate it.
You're pretty good at that, though. You show up.
Well, and I do as best I can. And, but I've always felt like just different, find whatever your thing is, find a way to engage in your community. Because, and my wife is really good about reminding me this, that I've got the things that I'm involved in, but man, there's a whole lot more out there that I don't even know about. I've got my little circle, my little sphere, and outside of that, there's, you go to certain businesses at night, like Walmart, and you're like, it's like, hey, this is a different experience than when you go at 9 o'clock in the morning. Because I had to go, on Saturday we had the Rotary,
Hotcakes and Holly.
It
was awesome. Good turnout.
I had to go buy some audio visual equipment, and so I went to the Walmart, and we ended our night at Walmart too. And it's like, the experience is different. And it's just, I've really rambled about how I support Spread the Positive. Really going
well done.
all over the
place. I think that energy ampule is
it's kicking in. Heart rate's going. But it's just there's so many needs in the community, and Spread the Positive does a great job in touching on those.
They really do. And we can only do what we know about. I tell people all the time, I'm not a fan of the term giving back to our community. I'm a fan of participating in our community to the best of your ability. And and that whole best of your ability, I was listening to a book not too long ago, and Andy Andrews was talking about that. I don't know if you've ever listened to or read any Andy Andrews. Great gifts to give people, the Traveler's Gift and the Noticer, and some of those books are phenomenal. But one of the things that he said in there, and it's through allegory, so stick with me, but the whole I'm doing the best I can thing in a lot of ways is a cop out, because it's easy for us to say, well, I'm just doing the best I can. What you really want to do is you want to participate at the level that you are able. And, what am I capable of doing? And when I really stop and think about that, and I look at what I actually accomplish versus what I'm capable of accomplishing, am I satisfied with those two levels, right? Do they jive? And what Trent does with Spread the Positive is he elevates the ability for all kinds of organizations and all kinds of people, individuals, nonprofits, business owners, whatever. He elevates the opportunity for them to accomplish more and to participate just a little bit more in their community by gaining exposure. And I love that. I love having the platform personally,
Right.
but I also love that he gives so many other people that opportunity. There's some good stuff going on. I don't know if you know about this, but just as an example, there's 2 young men. They were the J Harmon Home Team Heroes of the Month. We awarded them on Monday, or on Friday rather, and today's Monday. It was on Friday. Noah and Nehemiah. They're actually going to be my guests next week on Table Talk. I think they're 9 and 11, right? Raised by their grandmother, who was also a hero of the month for me last year. G-Ma, shout out to G-Ma, love you, G-Ma. And they was on their hearts to give bundles, so it's Christmas bundles, to the homeless folks here in Murfreesboro. And okay, that's great. And then Ravondia said, okay, let's do this. And the next thing you know, it got legs. They're going to make 150 bundles to hand out. We've got blankets, we've got toiletries, we've got socks, we've got all kinds of stuff that are going to go in these bundles. We bought little bags to stuff it all in. The Fish has interviewed them. I mean, it's been they've been on WGNS now.
That's great.
And they're sitting there going, we just want to help some homeless people.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And a 9 and 11-year-old, do they have the ability to do that? Apparently, yes, if they're supported correctly.
Survey says, yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's great.
So, by the way, if you're interested in contributing to Noah and Nehemiah Christmas bundles, you can bring stuff to CGB before next Tuesday, and we'll make sure that they have that to pack into their bundles. So again, toiletries. I think we're covered on socks at this point, and blankets, but blankets and toiletries specifically is what we're looking for. Cool. Well, what else, man? What else you want to talk about? Anything?
TCU's going to a bowl game.
They are going to be playing on an island.
The women's team beat the number 18 team in the country.
They did
yesterday,
and fairly handily.
Yeah, it was a beating. I mean,
yeah,
it was good.
Yeah,
won by 18.
Shout out to Coach Insel over there. Good job, man. Good job, ladies. You guys did a great job. Proud of you guys. Basketball in the glass house, it's something else, man.
It is. We weren't able to go yesterday. We had some family stuff going on in Coffee County. We had to head down to, but we went on Saturday to the men's game, and I used to go to all of them, and season tickets, and was there all the time, and then kids got to where weeknight games are harder to go to with just the kids' activities. But it was good to be back in there. The floor looks great.
It does. That gray is beautiful, isn't it?
And the team's playing well. So kudos to all of them over there.
Yep. Excited about that. Excited about the bowl game. Not going to be able to make it to Hawaii, but we'll be watching on Christmas Eve. So
sure.
It'll be good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So Noah Nehemiah bundles, if you want to bring some stuff in, bring it to CGB when we're open. And if we're not open and you still need to drop it off, just let me know and I'll get it from you. Trent, you got anything over there?
No, sir. Just want to say thank you for those plugs and all the kind words. It's very much appreciated.
We appreciate you, man. You do a lot for this community.
Fun, man.
and here's what's really fun about this. Think about this for a second. We don't even know yet what the impact is going to be.
Yep.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Right. You got an organization like Endure Athletics. You got an organization like Murfreesboro Muslim Youth, Liberty's station over there. You got all these organizations, Soldier's Child, 11th Hour, all these organizations that are doing stuff and they're impacting people right now. And we won't even really feel that for 10, 20, 30, maybe even 50 years from now.
That's wild.
When the kids from Endure Athletics are having their own organization, having their own kids, and their kids are doing great things.
Yeah.
That's when we really start to see that impact.
I would say you start to see the impact immediately, but man, that's a really profound thing to recognize that there's lasting impacts. We're making some immediate impacts. So there's value today, like with what Noah and Nehemiah are doing.
Yeah.
But the turn of that, and sometimes it's not necessarily that somebody was able to stay warm that night, but I was talking with somebody earlier today who has some family health issues, and she was like, man, the impact that the community made when they lifted us up, when they all supported us. It's not just the monetary benefit from that GoFundMe, but it's the the spark of just positivity.
Yeah.
Then
My
love
community is behind me.
that our family felt, and,
Hope, right?
and that gives us something to be excited about.
Well, think about, let's take Noah and Nehemiah, right? Let's play this out for a second. Okay. They decided to do this because it was on their heart, right? They got in touch through their grandmother with people that were able to help them, right? So now they've learned channels to take when they feel compelled to help a population. They know how to do that. They've seen it work. They've experienced success with that.
Right.
They reach out, they get the great feeling, because helping people, like truly helping people, there is not a way to substitute that. There's not a way to fake that. And so they're going to feel that. And then when they feel compelled again, they're going to be even better at making it even bigger, you know? And then, I don't know, 18, 19, 20 years from now, when they're in their later 20s and all of a sudden they feel compelled to do it again, you know, who knows what they can accomplish at that point.
Yeah.
They may actually solve the homelessness issue.
Yeah.
They could.
Yeah.
Love it.
Good stuff, man.
It really is.
Thank you, Trent, for what you do.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
So if you want to be part of the Spread the Positive movement, let us know. We always are looking for folks to underwrite shows. We're always looking for folks that have that next great idea to create a show. And there's always room here. There's always room at the table.
That's it. Was it in table talk? But yeah.
Oh, that's all right. I'm gonna throw that out there anyway. Watch tomorrow for that one.
Tagline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate y'all. That was awesome.
Bryan, love you, man. Thank you for what you do. I guess Merry Christmas. I won't see you on here unless you jump in on somebody else's.
You know, if that opportunity comes up, great. If not, then Merry Christmas to you and everybody out there, and spread the positive land.
I'm
That's
feeling that ampule kick in, and I definitely shouldn't have chased it with the coffee.
Yeah.
I'm twitching.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
That's from the cafe.
It's good. It's tingling.
Let's cut this off and go on a run.
Yeah. Woo, let's do it. Yeah. All right. Hey, appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions about your mortgage or just the mortgage market in general, reach out to Bryan. If you have questions about real estate, reach out to me. We'd love to help you. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Have a good day.